All right, I'm here with another Teardown interview, talking to Devin Bramhall from HelpScout. Devin, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on.
Great, so thanks for coming on. I've just been a fan of HelpScout, as I'm sure many of our listeners here have been as well. You guys have been really kind of a leader in the customer support help desk space. I know it's a very competitive space. We're users of HelpScout at AudienceOps, and it's been fantastic. But I've just been really a fan of your marketing as well, especially the content stuff that you've been doing for a long time, and that's why I wanted to talk to you today.
Great.
So what's your role at HelpScout, and how long have you been there? And kind of give us like an intro.
Sure. Yeah. I'm the director of content, and I started in May of 2016. So haven't been here for too long, but like you, I've been a fan of HelpScout's content for a very long time. I actually got my start. I started my career in customer support at a startup. And so I've gone through a lot of the, I've worked, in the industry that our app now serves, and had a lot of those sort of pain points and all that. So, them in particular, their tool in particular in this company was it's such a shoe-in for me because it's how I started out. So,
yeah, that's great.
I understand our audience better.
Well, that's actually my first question there is how does a tool like HelpScout actually define its target customers? Because when I think about help desk tools, I mean, almost every business needs some sort of customer support system. I mean, I would think more online software-based companies would be more in tune to this kind of thing, but I'm sure your customer base is wider than that. How do you niche down in any way or think about a focused target customer?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's, I think, one of the things that we did right. This was long before my time, but we started out by defining who our audience is. And where we started was very specifically in within the business, right? So there's lots of different verticals we can go into, different types of businesses, but we started out with the team. So, and we spent quite a bit of time researching and making sure we really understood who it was at each company that we were targeting. So, for example, Heidi, and she has a name. Heidi's are support professionals, the people work in the support department. We even have super Heidis, which might be support managers.
Okay.
And
I've heard of companies putting pictures up on the wall, some random person and name and occupation and everything.
Yeah, well, we don't have them on the wall because we're a remote team, but we actually, part of the onboarding for every single employee, we actually have I think it's more than one page. It's a 2 or 3 page profile on each of our personas. And every single person who joins the company gets taken through those. And we spend a significant amount of time going over those personas, understanding them so that every single person on the team, no matter what they're doing, whether it's marketing, customer support, engineering, leadership, whatever, we all know who our audience is, who's going to be using our tool, who's going to be looking at our tool, who's going to have to help at the company, onboard the rest of the team, or, so I think that helps a lot.
Very cool. So, I've been, again, watching your content and blog for a while. What I really like about it is how structured it is. So it looks like you guys have basically blog articles coming out on a pretty regular basis, and then you have these resources they're more extended resource hubs. Can you talk a little bit more about the structure and how you're thinking about different pieces of content on the site?
Yeah, so it's actually it's interesting for us. So we publish 2 times a week, and we send an email newsletter out to our subscribers each day. So it's Tuesday and Thursday. And we've kept that really consistent. And I think that really helps, especially now when, you go to any website and it's the second they get your email, you're getting a million emails from them. We're sort of the opposite, right? We're look, subscribe and visit and, 2 blog posts a week. Resources historically have not been on a regular schedule, right? I would say now we're on sort of a once a quarter. That's the very high level, right? in terms of topics, it's been interesting for us because, historically, content has been sort of our greatest driver of growth, right? So, but the problem is when you get into the support space, right, there isn't a lot of, the industry isn't very big, right? And so that can present an interesting challenge where if you're trying to, get a lot of people to your site to look at your service, there just aren't as many people to target in the support space. And so that's why we've sort of broadened our topic areas to sort of bigger topic areas that might, target the founders of a company, right?
Yeah, it seems like you're covering a lot of topics that it's not specifically about customer support, but all the other things that a business that happens to do customer support would also need to care about.
Exactly. Right. And also things like customer service. Like customer service, we just hopped on those search terms at the perfect time. And so that is part of our business. And so we just were like, yeah, we have a lot to say about customer service. Like that's what our company's about.
Yeah.
And so now we're at this interesting place where it's like, okay, since I joined, I'm sort of doubling down on like content specifically for customer support. I think we were quite broad. But the problem with that is like, how do you target customer support, which is a smaller industry, and still bring in lots of sort of the same level of traffic that you're used to?
Right.
And so that's sort of like, and as a marketer, like that's where you have to kind of make decisions, like what's more important, right? Like we want to be here to support our people, right? And so then we start to make decisions like, is, high volume important if it's not the right people?
Right.
And change our goals accordingly. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it sounds like you're looking at different metrics and maybe changing those over time. Like what are you looking at? Like I was speaking to somebody from Lead Pages earlier this morning, and they said everything that they do is targeted at increasing MRR for their SaaS. Is it something else? Is it like referral business, or is it like I know HelpScout has multiple products now. Like how do you guys think about that? Or is it email subscribers or like, yeah, what are you kind of looking at as the key metric?
No, that's a great question. So one of the cool things that when I was hired, we hired a VP of growth at the same time. And so, I would definitely say like, he's looking at MRR, right? But like there's more than what he did that was really smart is he broke down the funnel for the team. And so like our roles are sort of defined by goals. And so as director of content, like the only thing I care about are unique visitors. I have a number every month and I am trying to hit that number every month. And that is it. Like I am so focused, right? We've got a team of people in the middle of the funnel who are looking at the conversions, right? And again, there's some overlap, right? I write a blog post. Obviously, there's a lot of strategy that goes into the content there where we're trying to drive them from that post. But my primary goal is like bring the people in, right? And then we've got a team of people who can help focus on the conversions so that everybody is so focused. It's almost like you're becoming, and it's one of our sort of core values, which is like excellence, right? We're all able to become excellent at our thing we're doing. And I've worked at a lot of startups, right? I've had to be that everything person, and it can be, you're just, when you're spread thin, your efforts are never fully as impactful because you can't really do a test and then analyze it and then improve upon it well if you have multiple goals at once.
Yeah, that's so true. I love it. Cool. So I think we got a pretty good like high level, strategic look at what's happening at HelpScout. Can you tell us more about what it looks like from a day to day, and what does the team look like? So you're in charge of content, but like how many different writers are there? Like what does kind of the team and the process look like?
Yeah. So I would say of all, this is as my fourth startup, I believe, this is the most unique team that I've been on, but also the most functional. There are 2 writers on the team right now. And so there's sort of 2 people full-time, right? I mean, if you're going to write 8 posts a month, like at the level that we do, right? We're not writing like we have some of those, but everything we do is pretty in-depth. Mm-hmm. So content takes time, right? It takes time. It doesn't take 5 minutes. It doesn't take an hour. It doesn't take 2 hours. If you're going to write a decent blog post these days, like You just need time to do it. You need to do the research. You need to interview people. So 2 writers, 8 posts a month. And then we have a full-time illustrator who does, because we have all original artwork from blog post to app to website. Everything is custom. So full-time illustrator who I work with to do the imagery for the post.
Yeah. That's another thing that I love about just the overall structure of, the Help Scout site in general, but really those illustrations and the content, like they all follow a pattern, and they've got different categories, and yeah, it's really well done.
You want to know why that works? Speaking to team. So one of our co-founders is our, whatever, the high VP of design or whatever, like he's the lead designer. And so from the beginning and throughout all of our changes, right, we just went through a rebrand this year. There is he is the keeper. He's a co-founder. He is the keeper of our brand. And so with people that we bring in, right, he's sort of the holds it and keeps it consistent even as it changes, right? If I want to do something, he's seeing it, right? It's like, Devin, hold on a minute. Let's talk about this.
Right.
And it's great. And it's good for me, right? Because he's both Jared and who's our co-founder, lead designer, and our illustrator, Steven, it's like we balance each other out, right? Yeah. And so I think that really helps. And, again, we're remote. So sometimes I'm in the office with Jared, but all the time I'm on Slack with Steven. And so what we do is we set times to talk to each other. So on publishing day, we kind of have a schedule for publishing day. My posts are due, our posts are due a week in advance for him, puts them up. We do a little bit of last minute editing, put together the email, but there's times for him to review and stuff.
So do you have different people handling different pieces of the process so let's say one blog article, right? Is it the writer who is doing all of the writing and the editing and formatting and uploading to the site and scheduling it, or how do you break that up?
Yeah, so the writer is responsible for, writing it, getting it to first draft. I review, obviously, and we will have talked about it in advance. So this is really just to check in to make sure, did we get everything here? Seeing it now put together, I might catch something because I haven't been writing it that whole time that might be missing or that we want to add. We send it to a external copy editor. So we have a woman who's been working with us for years, and I definitely recommend that, right? Yeah. Having this, we do outsource it, but same woman for years and years and years. So she understands our style guide. She knows when something's different and will comment and say, hey, this looks different. This isn't according to your style guide. You know.
Yeah, we do the same thing here in our content service where the writer does the draft and the researching and everything, but everything goes through a second editor. And I think that you're right. There's so many people who, the writers kind of self-edit, and they do that to a certain extent, but they'll never catch everything. And you put a second set of eyes on it, it really, really helps.
Yeah. And even with the second and third set, it's just so easy to miss things. There's so many components to digital publishing. I'm sure that newspapers would say the same thing, but right. We do look a lot like a publishing house. Look, there's a lot of steps. We're not, my last company published it on WordPress or Squarespace, and, I did all of it. And that's not, it didn't have the consistency. It didn't have the polish. So,
right.
And again, we don't work with a traditional CMS, so we have sort of one that we built. And so I do have all of our edits in GitHub, which I think would be a little bit less common. Most people would be using WordPress or the like. So that adds a component. But. Yeah,
very cool. So so what happens at so you're publishing content. How are you guys kind of promoting content and gaining traction for something that is just published, let's say this week? Do you have a process for sharing on social media and distribution and can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So for us, it's a little bit different, but because again, we sort of have quite a following already. But that said, so, we use mostly Twitter, Facebook a little bit, but not really. They're great for video these days, so I've been doing more video there. That's a really great place to be sharing videos, but Twitter primarily, LinkedIn a little bit. But when we do an ebook, for example, that is where I lean heavily on partnerships, right? because there's like usually when I'm doing an ebook, I have a larger goal in mind. So I don't just want like, and we have a benchmark for traffic for each post that we review every week. So it's like, this is what the average post is getting, and it's getting us our numbers every month. So like, we'll sort of benchmark against that. Ebook's going to have a higher benchmark, right? And so working with partners, huge for us, right? So we will consult with other people on the post, and then we send them, stuff to help us distribute it. And again, you're tapping into whole other audiences, right?
Yeah, I've heard this come up again and again, and I've seen it done really well where, there's this whole idea of like influencer outreach where it's like, okay, I just published a post. Let's go like kind of cold email spam people and say, hey, look at my post. I guess it's better if you kind of bring them into the process early on and say, I want to interview and include you in this post. And then after it publishes, you can kind of go back to them and say, hey, it's live,
Yeah. And you know what? With our latest book that we did, the career ebook, like Emily, who's one of our writers and the author, she already has relationships with a lot of these people, right? Like, or she developed them through consulting them for the post. So when she reached out, like they felt a sense of, like not ownership, but like they felt a part of it too. And so they were like, when I was putting together the report for my team afterwards, I had her send me some of the screenshots from, her outreach to them. 100% of them were like, this is great. Absolutely. They all shared it and they were excited to, because like, look, they get a mention, and they like, and it's actually helpful. It was a good ebook. It had real stuff in it. It wasn't like a, thinly veiled asset that's really just for lead capture. It's like, it was helpful to people in the support industry. So I think they were more than happy to share it.
So how do you get into those, like the ebooks and the big resource guides on the site? So those are like, like multi-page or just really, really long. They're not just blog articles. I think you mentioned you're doing them like roughly once per quarter. Like, how do you kind of plan those? How do you decide what the topic is? We've seen a lot of this like hub and spoke strategy where you kind of figure out what keyword you kind of want to go after and build a big resource around that. How are you guys thinking about that?
I'm so glad you asked, because I have a very strong opinion about this actually.
All right.
So look, ebooks, they're bare, right? They're long, they're big. How do you like that? It can feel like you kind of have to stop everything to get them out. And I'm of the complete opposite mindset. So Emily came up with this idea because Emily is, like me, she used to do support. She worked at Basecamp, very heavily involved in the support community. She went to a conference and she was, chattering with a bunch of support people in a Slack channel and was like, hey, this question just kept coming up, is like, what's the career path for customer support people? So topic generated from the community directly, right? And that's how a lot of our topics for these come about. It's like, if people in the support industry are asking this question over and over week, there's a hole and no one's filled it, right? And to be honest, we kind of feel responsible for filling it. Second thing though, and most importantly on execution, especially for small companies, which we're still small, right, is set the entire project up, determine, like she puts together the outline, what all the chapters are going to be, who she's going to reach out to. And then as she's working on it, portions of it become blog posts along the way.
Right.
So we don't stop publishing for it. That was like, basically our company in a good way hardly even knew that we were putting this ebook together because we were so methodical about it, right? Everything gets scheduled in advance. We know when we're publishing the blog post along the way. So Emily's able to tackle a huge project and her weekly blog post at the same time.
Right. Kind of repurposing it as you're writing it.
Yep. Copy editor doesn't get 15 pages at once. Design and then when it's done, it's actually more done than, the one we were finishing up one when I just started, and it was like, there was a lot we were doing at the last minute because everyone was just seeing it put together for the first time. But when you're editing them as blog posts along the way, and obviously you add more to them when you put them into a full asset, but like, then it's not all new at once. And so you can see more, it's less cumbersome to edit. Like you even have better ideas along the way. So like the publishing along the way, I have to say, is like the smartest thing we ever did.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So you're doing some kind of promotion. You're doing these big items. You're sending out to your list. You've got a huge following and an email list, which really helps get that early traction. Can you take me through the connection between a casual subscriber or somebody who just discovers you on social media or search and becoming a Help Scout paying customer? Like, how do you go through that? What does your funnel basically look like on the back end? Like, and yeah, can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah. So, again, really good question. So, the problem statement that, we were solving for when I joined was, we have all these subscribers to our blog, and we use, Drip for our email. And so they have really great kind of back end, analytics on like who our subscribers are. And we can sort of define, give them a score, right?
Right.
So
the
like
lead scoring. Yeah.
Yeah. And we use that to kind of say, like, is this person, we call them evaluators, like, is this person who's interested in our product, right? And what we found is that a lot of our subscribers, like, aren't qualified leads, right? They just, again, we've been around for a while. We've been producing great content for a while. Like, I don't think we were paying enough attention historically to that part of the funnel. And so it was like, we just have all these people who love to read our blog posts twice a week.
Right.
So that is like question number one. Great. Right now is, again, when myself and my boss were joined in the spring, it was like testing period. So like this fall, we set the team up to be executing, he set the team up to be executing on a ton of tests, right? Lots of tests on the homepage, experimenting with our newsletter sort of slide in on the like maybe that could be a upsell to the product, tons of little things like that,
right?
Kind of getting them out of the way so that we can kind of like put better puzzle pieces together going forward.
So once somebody joins your email list for the first time, they're getting the newsletters Tuesdays and Thursdays, new content coming out. Is there anything else that happens like from like an email marketing perspective? Like, do you invite them to a webinar at some point or anything like that? Or is it kind of just like the branding is there, and when you're ready for customer support, you kind of just think of Help Scout? Yeah.
So that is that is sort of still the way it is right now. And I think that, again, we've always been so good at, this was really important to the founders, right? That we treated our customers the way we wanted, like the way we wanted to be treated. And so I think historically we didn't push our customers or potential customers very much, right? People came to our site, were like, brand background, like give you what you want. Now I would say things are going, we're going to be focused, we're trying things to change that.
Yeah.
But right now, no. If I were like to perfectly answer your question, the answer is no. Like there isn't much that we do around email. And that's why sort of our switch over to Drip, running a lot of tests. We're doing more webinars. We're sort of working with different segments. Now we have a person that literally owns Drip.
Right.
Now we're heavily focused on that. And that's sort of like the next sort of stage of development for us is like perfecting that.
That's
and
actually
that's what takes the longest.
Absolutely. And that's actually kind of my final question here is, what has kind of changed in recent years and what's happening now? And as we're heading into right now at this recording, we're almost heading into 2017. So what are you thinking about like over the next 6 to 12 months in terms of content marketing for Help Scout? But you're right. I've been kind of seeing that trend where historically it's been more about just, you publish really great content, the traffic will come, and that's kind of still true. But when it comes to software companies, you still need some kind of back-end funnel and like tagging and email marketing automation and segmentation and all that. So is that kind of where this is heading? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So yes. So that's 100%. And again, like, now that, so I join, Sunit, again, my boss joins, basically what he's done, and it's actually incredible to see it now, in very short order. He took everybody that was on the team on sort of the content and product side and was like, he just put everybody in a very specific role, right? So everyone kind of owns their own particular sort of part of the funnel, even in like, top of funnel is just top of funnel, right? We're unique visitors, like we're doing our thing. middle of the funnel is a little bit more broken down, right? So we've got a product marketer, right, who focuses on drip and email segments and product pages, page copy, and the like. And then we've got another person who focuses more on the data, right? So he's looking at trends and all of that and synthesizing that to come up with ideas for what we can test on the homepage, in the product, in the apps, et cetera. And so, yeah, I think, and again, that's the thing that takes the most amount of time because of all the testing. And so I think what's going to happen in 2017 is that top of funnel is going to kind of, we're going to be more working closely towards the middle of the funnel. Because again, traffic we've got that covered, right? Yeah. So we're going to be focusing more on that. And then really just, we have a free plan that we launched this year. So, really working on that, seeing, perfecting that as well. And really helping our customers see like, okay, adopting a help desk or switching to a new help desk is not small. I've done it. It's really, there's a lot you have to consider. And so we're just trying to figure out, okay, what from the content side and what on the product side can we do to show people that we can help them through every stage, right? Yeah. That's the thing you have to do is like, and that's something we still need to work on. And so
I love it. I mean, I think, again, everything has been, really impressive and it's exciting to see how you guys are, updating and changing heading into 2017 and kind of being around this long. It's been awesome to watch and be a customer and be in the network. So it's been awesome.
No, thank you so much.
Yeah. So Devin, thanks for taking the time. Of course, everyone can go check out helpscout.net. Where can people kind of connect with you?
Me personally, I'm at Devin at HelpScout. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm happy to, any marketing questions whatsoever, any questions about our blog, like email me anytime. I'm a big pay it forward person, so I'm always happy to help and answer questions. And then you can follow us at HelpScout on Twitter, and definitely check out our blog. We spend a lot of time on it. So, and we'd love to hear if there's stuff that you want to hear about too. We're always open to new suggestions. So
awesome. Thanks, Devin.
Yeah, thank you.